Senate Finance Committee will come to order. Members, it's Thursday, March 24th. Thank you very much. There we go. Thank you very much, members, and thank you very much, Senator Howe, for being here again. This, as we were joking, this Senator Howe week in finance, and we've loved it. And you did bring donuts, members. There's donuts in the back, Senator Ingebrigtsen. So, before us, members, we have Senate File 3086. We heard this in conjunction with Senator Newman's bill. We made the appropriate changes and adopted the amendments to both, so they're matched, and they'll, your bill, Senate File 3086, will be going to the floor as amended. So Senator Howe, welcome again to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Just to reiterate, this Senate File 3086 takes 100% of the sales tax on automotive parts and moves it to transportation. It also, so 86% of that would go to HUTDF fund and 7% to small cities and 7% to townships. That would amount to about $22,390,000 to each, an additional funding to small cities and to townships. I think that it's very important to reiterate, to say again, who is all supporting this. I mean, I think it's an unprecedented group of folks that support this: the Minnesota Business Partnership, the Chamber of Commerce, International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 49, the Regional Council of Carpenters, the Associated General Contractors, Minnesota Asphalt Pavement Association, Concrete Paving Association of Minnesota, Luna Local 563, Minnesota Transportation Alliance, Minnesota Association of Townships, Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, League of Minnesota Cities, Minnesota Small Cities, Iron Workers Union, Local 512. So it's an unprecedented group, a widespread group that support this. I think it's high time. I've been working on it a long time, and I'd love to sell that Suburban that it was the inspiration of the bill. So with that, I'll just ask for your support.
Thank you, Senator Howe. Senator Marty?
Sure, Madam Chair. Senator Howe, I'm impressed. I'm glad you have a good list of supporters, and I think we need more funding for transportation, which is what people are very much calling for. My concerns is one that we have a lot of dedicated funds, as we appropriately do for transportation, but nothing in here for transit either, which also has a lot of capital needs. I think statewide there's needs for that. And so I think this is something that is very likely to happen this year, as you know, and I think so. My concerns are that again, this gets back to the whole role of the Finance Committee and how we put together a budget. And there are a lot of things. This is taking $300-some million out of general fund, and 300 million here, 300 million the other day, lots of things happening. And to me, I guess I'm just concerned that we're passing $1 billion here, $1 billion there, and no budget. And the reason I mention that is because when we come to this, we do hope that we're going to have funding for other urgent needs. And I'll just call out the one that I've heard from several other people recently a lot, and that is the cross-subsidy for special education, which this is the year to fix it. We mandate that. ELL mandate. We mandate that. And the cross-subsidy for that, the schools, is huge. And we could address it. And so I'm open to supporting this thing if we're going to have all those other things happen, but I'm not sure when that's going to happen. I don't see any movement on it. And so we're passing this, and it's a good thing. But what about the other needs? Where's the budget? And that's my concern. And I'm not sure that that's a question for you as much, but it's a comment to this whole committee, because we're the ones responsible for putting together a fair budget. And I've not heard any talk about any bills relating to funding the mandates the state has put on our local schools for special ed and for ELL and things like that. So I'd love to see us do that, and I think this is appropriate if we're going to do the other things. So in other words, my concern is more the timing of it, because I think we need to see a budget, how we're going to put together this, because We've got 2.7 billion in UI and 1.7 or so for reinsurance, and then this and all the other things, and they may be all good things to do. They're all things we want to do, but we don't have a budget. And I'm troubled by that because I think things like education, our schools, I keep hearing over and over, the schools don't have funding for mental health. If we took care of the cross subsidies, they could afford to deal with mental health. And to me, Madam Chair, I guess that's my concern, that we're doing lots of good things, but no budget, no prioritizing, no way of looking at the other needs, because I think the transportation needs are great, but so are the education needs. And I guess I'm asking, when are we going to get to the education issues?
Thank you, Senator Marty. And I would assume that question is directed towards me instead of Senator Howe. We are, as you know, this is not a budget year, and we are not obligated to have targets, and we've chosen not to have specific targets. But I can guarantee you, and it's in this folder right here, there is a lengthy spreadsheet of the priorities from the Minnesota Republican Caucus. And as you know, and everyone around this table knows, this is a lengthy process, and now we're just starting to catch our cadence. Finance will not be heard next week, so all the bills can get through second deadline. So we'll have no hearings next week. And then everything starts to come down to this committee. And their priorities from our caucus at this point that we have on the budget sheet. I'll be happy to share it to you when I have a chance to share it with the entire caucus, my caucus. But at this point, we have a good budget that we feel comfortable with at this point. And it may not include everything that you feel is important, but in the end, I am very confident that we'll have an agreement that that we can all be proud of. We may not get all of our priorities, but we will have an agreement at the very end, because that's what we do. We're a divided government, and it's a completely different ballgame than any other state. But when that bill comes out, the cross-subsidy bill, if there's a bill that comes out of education, I can rest assured we will hear it, and we'll see how the budget fits. But we do have priorities, yes. Reinsurance is one of them. The UI bill is our number one. That was our number one vote, just about off the floor. I think it was. Mental health is a priority. You just haven't seen the bill yet, Senator Marty, because it's just not ready for prime time. So there's a lot of things in the works that are happening. It's just not ready to divulge to everybody.
And Madam Chair, and I appreciate that you've got a list that we haven't seen yet, and I appreciate that your caucus has some things they want to push. I guess my concern is, I'm hearing from a lot of school folks about the struggle the schools are going through and the mental health crisis in the schools and everything else. And the reason I mentioned the cross subsidies are because those are things that we effectively mandated on the schools, and I don't think anybody's here suggesting we should remove them, but we don't fund them, and that's huge hits. And, well, we haven't had the money. We haven't had the ability to do so. Well, this year we have the money to do these things, we say, but the fact that there might possibly be somewhere in the list of priorities of some funding for the schools is a little bit shy of saying, well, we're going to do it. And to me, committing, just continuing more commitments to piecemeal approaches, I understand why the Transportation Committee says we got to do this, and I understand that. When the Education Committee says we got to do this, that's their role too. But our role as the Finance Committee is to put it all together and figure out the priorities and how much can go into each thing. And to me, that's where our job is supposed to be, the responsible budget gatekeeper for everything, and we're not even seeing that. I understand, I'm glad you have your list of priorities, but we haven't seen it, nobody has, and I guess that's kind of what I'd be waiting for seeing. And again, this bill, as Senator Howe says, has a lot of supporters, so I have a feeling it's going to move one way or another throughout the course of the session, but I just think we should step back and pull together the priorities and discuss and debate all of them instead of one at a time. We'll take this, then we'll take the next one, and as many years ago at the federal level, Federal Senator Everett Dirksen said that thing, $1 billion here, $1 billion there, soon you're talking real money. And this is at the state level, and we're doing that. And I'm just concerned that education and mental health and a lot of other things are off the side, and, well, we run out at the end of session, well, we didn't have room for that in our priorities. And to me, that's the kind of discussion would be most appropriate here in this committee.
Thank you, Senator Marty, and I understand you're very passionate about those issues, and concerning mental health, we're very passionate about that too, and I can guarantee you, and would love to talk to you about the work that 3 senators are working on with mental health. There's a great push in that area. Frankly, I'm not sure where the Education Committee is with cross-subsidy. Perhaps you have a bill that you introduced. I don't know, but we are going to deal with these issues as they come in the Finance Committee. We're not even done with first deadline, so we can continue to have this discussion, but we're just now starting to get rolling here, our Finance Committee, and that's what we do, the tail end. Senator Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. Having sat on the Transportation Committee for almost my entire legislative career, you know, I have opposed this moving of the auto part sales tax out of the general fund and into transportation for just real, I think, fundamental philosophical reasons about the way our budget has been set up to handle transportation and to handle all our other operational needs in the state. But, you know, obviously that change was made several years ago, and now we're dealing with what we're dealing with, and I feel like, you know, we have an obligation to deal with the situation as it is today. I am likely to support this, which is not an easy decision for me, but, you know, I think it's important that we recognize that this will not solve our transportation problems. I mean, this still really falls far short. So I want everybody to be really clear when we do this. This is gonna be a little help in the right direction. But our transportation system has been sorely lacking and needed resources for years. We have a huge backlog of real problems. I won't bore you with a lot of the transportation details. We had a very interesting and meaningful conversation about concrete and asphalt the other day that is an important part of the investment that we make and how sustainable it is and how much money we spend and save over the long haul. And when you're talking about highways, you're talking decades, right? So that's the transportation part of this. But to the point that Senator Marty was making, I just want to, you know, restate that from my perspective as well. We are passing these big finance bills to the floor. And every time we do that, we limit our abilities to do other things because there's only so much money we can spend of the Minnesota taxpayers' dollars. And you know, that is something that I've brought up before. I understand that this not being a budget year, targets themselves are not an issue. I'm hearing from other committees and other chairs that they are talking about some version of a target that they are being given. Part of my frustration is it sounds like there is a roadmap and there are priorities and some people have seen it, but I'm being asked to vote without knowing how my vote fits into the bigger context. And I feel like that puts me in a really difficult place in terms of representing my community and in terms of my role in this committee. But Madam Chair, just, you know, as some sort of, you know, traffic sign to help us know where we're going. There's always a transportation analogy in there. How much money have we passed out of this committee? How much have we spent out of this committee to date?
Mr. Now.
Madam Chair, members, Senator Kent, in fiscal year, this is general fund. So typically, members of this committee look pretty closely at the general fund. So are those numbers appropriate for your question? So in fiscal year 22-23, that biennium, the grand total net change approved by this committee is $2.485 billion. A good portion of that was the UI bill, as well as the reversal of the revenue replacement that was in that bill. In fiscal year 24-25, it's $585.7 million. So a total three-year, or a total number over the two biennia of a little over $3 billion. This bill itself would add an additional $550 over that same period of time.
Senator Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Nauman. And again, context matters when you're looking at budgeting. And my concern is that we just don't have that for a variety of reasons, but it makes it hard for us to do this job, I think, if we're not seeing what are the priorities, where are we putting them? And I will say, and there is a cross-subsidy bill, absolutely. But our schools are struggling, and we've already seen a survey done of the metropolitan area school districts. The districts around the state are doing their budgeting right now. And guess what, folks? Layoff notices will be going out soon, because we have districts across the state that have shortfalls. It's not just one school district in the metro. It's across the state, and we'll be hearing more and more about that. And I think that, as a body, the whole Senate needs to be much more focused on the struggles that our schools and our kids are facing right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kent. For the record, the House doesn't even have their targets out either. Senator Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the continual education discussion. If Senator Marty, Madam Chair, if Senator Marty would help me understand something. Senator Marty, the federal government literally turned on the printing presses and sent bushel baskets full of money. How much did they give for the cross subsidy, which is largely their mandate, which they have never fully funded? So how much did the Biden administration and their Department of Education spend on fulfilling the cross subsidy for Minnesota schools? I mean, if we're going to turn on printing presses, don't you think it should be for something other than dumping money down a rat hole at the fraud that happened at the Minnesota Department of Ed? They didn't feed kids. The FBI is investigating, and the feds didn't send money for the cross subsidy. So how much did they send? Or did I miss something?
Madam
Senator
Chair, I'm not here to defend the federal government in any of these things. The federal government on the education cost the special ed cost subsidy, I think, is giving less than half what they have promised early on. And if they remove their mandate for special education, ours are still stronger. We'd still have that mandate on without theirs. And if they were going to put in 40%, we should be putting in 60%, and we're not really doing that. The thing is, I can spend all my time attacking the federal government. I can spend my time doing that, but I'm trying to figure out what we do as a state here, given the budget circumstances we have here, given what comes good and bad from the federal government. This is our issue to deal with, because it doesn't matter what the federal government is doing. We've got our responsibilities too, and the school districts, the cries I'm hearing for people to address the mental health needs of students, cries I'm hearing for all the other challenges the schools are facing, and as Senator Kent mentioned, layoff notice is going out soon. I don't see how that's going to improve education. I think it's going to make it worse. And we have a chance to do something about it, and our plan is zero. So saying, yeah, the feds aren't doing anything for it, and saying, therefore, we don't have any obligation to do it. My concern is we do have an obligation to it. Our schools have urgent needs, and I'm saying that it may be in the chair's list. It may not be, I don't know, but I'm saying I think we have an obligation to do this at a time when everybody says we're flush with money. Maybe we should be making some progress on addressing these cost subsidies for things that we also mandate.
And Madam Chair?
And Senator Benson, we are going to probably
And we can wrap this up.
stay focused with Senator Howe here. Yeah, Senator
I'm going to
Benson.
ask our education chair and nonpartisan staff to get me a side-by-side of what the state spends per pupil and where we rank compared to other states, and then the counselors, because my cursory review is we spend more than some of our neighboring states, but still have lower counselor to student ratios. So I would love to understand how we can spend more per pupil and have lower counselor ratios, and the problem is solved by more spending. So if we're going to talk about this kind of stuff in this committee, then I think we should have side-by-sides of what other states are doing with their money. Because if they have better counselor to student ratios and they're spending less, then maybe the problem isn't money.
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for indulging us with the time. I know we only have one bill today, but we should stay focused. I know we need good roads for buses to get to our schools, correct? And the sales tax thing that came around for auto parts some years ago was an absolute wonderful idea. I think my constituents, when I explain it to them, they say that, you know what, that seems to make sense. Somebody who doesn't drive a car, who doesn't spend any money on that, shouldn't have to pay. And guess what? You guys have done something right here. Just really quickly, I know we've led astray here. We just have to talk about just one thing, I guess. And Senator Marty, you and I agree. I'm not here to defend this administration at the federal government either. I mean, I would have to get a lot of rest in there in order to be able to defend what they're doing. And how the money tree shook and all this came our direction. It's just amazing to me. But to the chairs, I think to the chairs in this committee's credit, we passed the UI bill bipartisanly a long time ago. But now it's being held up with the DFL and the governor over hero pay, which we all agreed upon at one time on a price for hero pay. A whole ton of work went on all summer long about where those dollars should go. The holdup isn't here. And if we could get that settled, then we'd have an idea where we could possibly spend. And maybe it would be on education. I'm not going to say that we would, but we can't even get bipartisan bills past the DFL and the governor. Here we sit. So there's that side as well. So, but thank you, Senator, for bringing the bill forward.
Senator Howe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And keep in mind, if we're talking that this is going to make a huge impact to what transportation gets out of the general fund, transportation right now gets about 0.4% of the general fund dollars. So we don't take a lot of money out of the general fund, and I don't think this is going to move that percentage a whole lot. And you are right, Senator Kent, that this is not going to solve our transportation needs, because the state match and the federal transportation dollars that are coming our way is $300 million for the next biennium, for this 22-23 biennium, and it's $393 million for the next biennium. So there isn't even enough dollars in this piece to do that. So if we're gonna get those federal funds, it's gonna take more. So, but with that, Madam Chair, I'll rest.
Thank you, Senator Howe. Senator Kickmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Howe, I so appreciate this bill because long time coming, and this really matches the wear and tear in our roads with the auto parts and all the sales tax and things. So it's such an appropriate place for it to go. But when I think of the match, you're mentioning the amount of money for the match, but what that gets us is nearly $5 billion over the next 5 years. That is huge, absolutely huge. That is well worth spending that money in getting that match as we go that through, in addition to the unemployment issue as well. But I would say when we talk about roads and bridges and that money, I'm thinking of the Southwest Light Rail and the fiasco that is, and the nearly $3 billion of money on a failed system that is now leading to expenses of cracks in condos, water issues, other buildings. Just think of what that money could do. You would have the city of Minneapolis in a state-of-the-art bus rapid transit, best roads everywhere, instead of this fixed rail in a going through an area dividing neighborhoods. You know, there are choices that the city of Minneapolis made, and right now their students, you want to talk about mental health, they're not in school. Why are they not in school? Well, COVID was one thing, but now there's a choice made by the teachers union, and the kids again are not in school. And I think it's really important that there are decisions that the city of Minneapolis is making that are harming their people, both in education and in transportation, that are their decisions, the people decisions right there. And we do our best from a state level, whether it's public safety whether it is education or whether it is roads and transportation. We're looking out for the whole state, small cities, small townships, bigger cities as well. But the big cities have crucial decisions they're making on their own that are putting them in an extremely difficult position, that they on their own can make decisions and change that this year. So I think the context of what we're dealing with here, and Madam Chair, I'm really looking forward to seeing the entire budget, as we've all been working so hard and taking pieces and all these individual committees and then pulling it together. I think we're going to see some really positive things, but I don't want us to lose focus on the fact that the city of Minneapolis, both in education and in transportation and in public safety, have decisions of their own to make in their own self-governance that will have a way bigger impact than what we can do here from a state level. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kiffmeyer. Senator Marty.
Madam Chair, I want to get back to the transportation thing because I think Senator Ingebrigtsen misunderstood what I said or misrepresented or whatever. But talking about, because I said I wasn't here to criticize or defend the federal government's actions. So he took that to be, so I'm attacking President Biden's stuff. I keep thinking, and who's putting more money into transportation infrastructure? The Biden administration's bills, I mean, the huge amounts of money states are getting for that is critical. This is small potatoes compared to that. So Senator Ingebrigtsen, I wasn't out there trying to praise or criticize, but when you want to talk about it, it's kind of twisting it to sort of suggest that I was harshly angry at the federal government for something when I frankly think that the issue you're talking about here, transportation funding, people who are doing the most good for our roads and so on are coming from the federal dollars. My point in not raising that and not pushing that is because, again, that's a federal decision. We're talking about what our choices are here, and my concern is we're doing these piecemeal things without looking at the big budget, and maybe the chair has her list, but the rest of us, we don't have it yet. We don't have the targets, we don't have priorities, we don't have anything, and my concern is there are a lot of other things here that we should be looking at, including education. And I think the needs are urgent. So again, the only reason for raising that point was I wasn't out saying, Senator Benson had raised a point about some federal money that there wasn't enough of. And I'm saying that in transportation, it was very generous. It makes a huge difference for our roads and infrastructure. And so if we're going to talk that way, if it's going to be a partisan attack on somebody like that, let's be careful about what we're saying, because Biden administration has probably done more for roads and transportation than we've seen in a long time at the state or federal level. And I realize, as Senator Kent said, this isn't still not enough. But let's put our budget together. We're not putting together the federal budget. We're dealing with our state budget. And that's what this committee is supposed to prioritize. And knowing that some members of the committee have their priorities doesn't mean we shouldn't be discussing as the whole committee. And that's my pitch.
Well, rest assured, Senator Marty, nobody else in this committee except these two gentlemen have seen the budget. So it will be coming out shortly. Senator Howe, final comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and great discussion. It's a kind of an insight into the finance world that I don't get normally a peek into, so I will leave it at that. I ask for your support, and I think this goes a little bit of a ways to shoring up our transportation infrastructure, and I will say that it's huge for our small cities who has never got any funding except for one time. So this will be big for those small cities, huge for our townships to actually be able to plan for their infrastructure needs and as far as transportation. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Howe. Thank you for the small cities piece. Okay,
Madam Chair.
members?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Ingebrigtsen,
Madam Chair, I would like to move the bill.
please.
You're good? I move the Senate File 3806 as amended, be recommended to pass and placed on general orders.
On that motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. The bill does pass and placed on general orders. Thank you, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members.
We won't
And-
see you
and-
next week, Senator Howe.
And please clean up those donuts in the back.
Yeah, thank you so much for the donuts. And members, like I said, there is no hearings next week to let the committees do their work, and then we will start doing our work the week after that. So Very good, okay. With that, have a great weekend, members. We are adjourned.